Hey everybody, my name is Brian Parra. Welcome to my kitchen. I am reaching that age, sort of a Hispanic male in his mid-40s, where I start thinking I should start taking care of my yard, and maybe I should make a taco business. I don't know. It's just a period of my life where I'm like, let's go back to my roots. I bought a griddle earlier this summer, and being able to cook on propane with a big flat surface has really given me a lot of options. I've used it all summer long, and my brother and his fiance hit me up to provide tacos for a surprise birthday party for my mother. She's turning 60, a day in the park, drinking beer, playing cornhole, and eating tacos sounded perfect. Taco services are, $10 a plate, so we're easily looking at $400 or $500 for our family and all our friends. So they hit me up. I jumped at the chance to do the tacos. At this point, I have spent about $200. Now, I'm not maligning the taco service guys because this is a lot of work, and plus you got to stand at some stranger's party all day serving, a bunch of white people tacos. So I'm not saying that they don't provide a service that's worth every penny, but I like making food. Certainly what I'd rather be doing during social events is standing there over the griddle or on the grill. So it was a perfect opportunity for me to sort of try my hand at doing a classic sort of taco man party. And so it is Wednesday. The party is Saturday. So I'm going to do a couple days worth of prep, pre-cooking my meats. So that way when I arrive at the party on Saturday, all I've got to do is throw them on the griddle to get that sort of browning, that Maillard reaction that creates that really good sort of crispy edges in all of the meat. But in the meantime, I'm going to show you all of the stuff that I purchased. Today, took a trip to Vallarta, which is our local Mexican market, and to Smart and Final. And so I'm going to talk through my ingredients and set up the game plan. So I really like to judge a taco man by his carnitas. Everybody jumps for the asada right away, the chicken, they know it, but nobody ever thinks like, man, let's go for their carnitas. It's really the secret to how well he is. So I got about a 7-pound pork butt roast here. I'm going to slow cook this today. The ingredients, carnitas, is bay leaves, oregano, and orange is going to be my acid. All right? Okay, the chicken. The chicken is a mix of white meat and dark meat. I got leg meat here and breasts. And then you really can't beat the Pollo Seasoning that they have at the Mexican market. You can try to make your own, but if you're really going for that classic Taco Man flavor, this is what they use. You might as well use it. They already make it. It's got all the right stuff in it. Additionally, I am going to put these on a sheet pan, stick them in the oven, and bake them 350 for about 40 minutes just to cook them. Again, I'm not going for flavor. I'm just going for cooking it. I'm going to put some diced onions and some cilantro in while it cooks. All that stuff is really going to cook down, so that way all you really get at the end is the flavors in the chicken. That's not going to be a lot of onions and cilantro. And the acid for my chicken is going to be limes. So here we go. There's the limes. And of course, what everybody loves, the asada here. I am going with a pre-cut asada. This is $3.99 a pound. Typically, asada, if it's pre-seasoned and you're getting it right from the butcher's counter, it's about $7 a pound. It's not cheap. Everybody loves it. This is bistec, picado de res, beef stir fry, whatever. It's chopped up beef. I'm going to flavor it again with the Carne Asada seasoning. Can't beat it. It's the flavor that you love. Why try to reinvent the wheel? Also going to cut it up with some, chop in onions and cilantro, and my acid for this is red wine vinegar, the secret to cooking really good meat. While we're talking about it, let's go through the rest of my shopping list here. Tortillas, can't beat them. The stuff made at the market is the best. I mean, they're making it fresh there. You might as well get it. I got a couple tortilla warmers right there at the Mexican market to keep them warm while I'm cooking. You cannot do tacos without a little bit of cheese. So I get this Mexican style blend for the people that are, you know, a little middle of the road, but Cotija is the stuff that you really need. The grated queso. It's a real sharp flavor, and it is really to me it's the flavor of tacos. That sharp cheese. It's a crumbly cheese. It goes on it. Turns off a lot of people. That's why we just go with the Mexican blend for those with a little bit less adventure in their lives. Cabbage for a crunch, not lettuce. It's got to be cabbage. And then I go with sort of a medium hot red salsa and a mild green. Again, straight from Vallarta Market. They make really good stuff. And some crema to go on top. I'm going to put this in a squeeze bottle. And then while I've got everything cooking on-site prepare, I'm going to take some jalapenos, put them on the griddle, and fry them up so that way people can add those for some extra heat. And then, of course, we cannot forget the guacamole. Here's the thing I love about Mexican markets. All the stuff is fantastic, and it's generally cheaper. These were 3 for $1. They're tiny, but, you know, if you're paying $1.50 for one avocado at Vaughn's, 3 for $1, you get 3. So I just bought 36 avocados. They're all tiny, but it's the same stuff. It's just as good. It cost me $12 for all these avocados, and it's really what is going to tie it all together. So here it is. All the way, all of this stuff, we're going to turn into tacos over the next 3 days. All right, the first thing we're going to do is break down this giant pork butt. Basically, just cut it into big giant cubes. There's nothing fancy about what I'm doing here. When you cut it down into cubes, it allows the slow cooking process to kind of happen a little bit faster. Basically, I'm going to put it in some its own juices and some water for about 6 to 8 hours, and you know, the pork is going to soften up, and I'm going to pick out as best I can here any bones that I find, any rando bones in here. Like here's one. We don't want that. We'll just sort of take it out of the mix. And of course, in this pork shoulder or pork butt, there's a big one right down the middle. And basically, I'm going to throw that whole bone in there. And when we are about done with it, the pork will pull right off of that bone. So I'm not going to worry about cutting it too close. But all of this gristle and stuff will essentially melt away in the slow cooking process. And so I'm really just giving it a head start by separating it out. I could cook it whole, but really I don't have the patience for that. Another thing that I'm going to do here is brown the pork. Put it right into the pan, so that way all of those edges that will give me that good flavor, that browned flavor, they can develop right now, because once the water gets in there and the moisture from all the onions and things get in, that browning process is going to stop. And so I'm going to brown it a little bit just to get it started. Hopefully not cut my finger off in this process. But get it going, and then fill it up with all of my produce and vegetables. All right, I got a cast iron Dutch oven here. I've got a lid for it. It's going to get piping hot. This Dutch oven basically acts as my slow cooker. I'm going to put it on the back burner, let it go for several hours, just keeping it low with the lid slightly off so some moisture can evaporate. So it never really gets above 180, 190. It won't really approach that boiling point as long as it's on low and the lid is set off just a little bit. Some evaporation will happen. It'll keep it right in that slow cooker thing. So I don't really need a crock pot. This does the trick. I'm going to put the pork in here straight onto the hot surface, no oil, no salt. And what that's going to do is going to brown it. The salt is going to start to release moisture from the meat. I don't want moisture right now. I just want that browning to happen to develop the flavor. As you can start to see, the stuff that's directly in contact with the hot cast iron is going to start to brown. This is called the Maillard reaction, and it's a series of thousands of different chemical reactions happening. And this is flavor. It's that flavor of sort of seared meat. And when we add moisture to this later, these flavors are going to lift off the bottom of the pan and sort of distribute themselves throughout all of the meat. And so we want to develop as much as we can. But all of this stuff that's directly touching the bottom, all of that is going to turn into really, really good flavorful meat. And I don't need to cook this all the way through. I just need to give it a second to sort of get more of this. I don't want it black, just want it brown. And the thing about browning meat is you don't have to brown all of the meat. I still have the big piece with the bone in the middle that I haven't thrown in here yet, because all of this flavor will transfer when all of this sits in the water in the liquid for a couple hours. All of this flavor is going to distribute itself throughout the whole pan. Okay, with these vegetables and fruits here, we don't have to worry about a fine cut. A rough cut will be fine because we're going to pick the meat out of the liquid here and only strain out the fatty juice. So we can just rough cut all of this stuff, throw the bay leaves, throw the oregano directly in with it, because all of that is going to be strained out later. And not actually end up in the pork. Alright, so back to our meat here. We're now going to put in the rest of the meat, and I'm going to salt it. Salting is going to start to release a lot of moisture from the pork, so that's why I brown it before I salt it. Because you don't want that moisture coming out of the meat while you're trying to brown, because it'll lower the temperature of the meat and prevent that Maillard reaction from happening. We can put our onions in and squeeze the oranges, and yes, I'm just gonna put the rinds in there also. Alright, we're going to throw all our garlic, again, whole, our sprig of bay leaves right on top. And then it's just going to sit here by itself for about 6 to 8 hours. And let all of this sort of melt all the fat and the gristle away and just be left with deliciously flavored meat. I'm going to put a little water in here. right up there. I'm gonna bring it up to a boil and then turn it down to a simmer. Let it sit. That's it. Let's see what we got here. This has been on about a number 2, just a very low boil, bubbles coming to the top. You can see this pork is basically falling apart. I poked around a little bit earlier, and this big piece fell off straight off the bone. Here's the bone. I leave it in there because there's gelatin that's going to leach out of the bone and continue to thicken up our gravy here. There are large pieces of fat that haven't dissolved, but when we sort of cut this up and put it on the griddle, this will sort of, essentially become manageable. You don't want to throw out too much fat because the fat is where all the flavor is. And this pork is, you can see it's just falling apart. I put a little salt in a while ago. All this orange stuff is going to dissolve down into nothing and just leave it sort of a bright flavor. And what I'm going to do now is pull the pork out and then drain all of the detritus through a mesh and sort of get all the gunk out of it, and then keep a lot of the moisture here to add back into the pork later on when I reheat it. So we are pretty much done. Here's a nice piece of pork. You can see it's just falling apart. Good morning, everybody. It's Friday morning. I am starting my coffee. Woo! It's Friday. Today I'm going to make chicken and the ASADA. I'm going to start with the most important ritual of the day. Black. That's the way to drink it. And also, fuck Donald Trump. Okay, chicken's done in the oven. Not very tasty. It's got some seasoning on it, but really all it is cooked. We're going to throw this on the griddle come taco day, and it's going to get browned up and reheated. It's going to be really good. I'm going to chop this up, throw it in the fridge, keep a lot of the juice here so it stays juicy, and that's the chicken. Good morning. It's Saturday. Going to continue prepping my tacos today. I've got the pork and the chicken done this morning. It is ASADA, and then I'm going to start prepping the onions and avocados. Probably do a little bit of that on site, but right now, let's take a look at the carne. So I got these on sheet pans. I'm going to season ends. I use a lot. Yeah, it's just not pretty here, but I typically put a lot on here. A lot is going to be lost in the juice, but really once the fat starts flowing, all of this is going to get distributed really well. This seasoning, I mean, if you were trying to do this from scratch, it's paprika, garlic, pepper, salt, oregano, cumin. These are all very traditional Mexican spices. Again, I like to buy the mix because the proportions are exactly right. And a little secret ingredient called MSG, which is delicious and is not responsible for the MSG panic that everybody had back in the 60s. So use it. It's delicious. What's wrong with you? Anyways, onions and cilantro are going to go on here and then into the oven about 30 minutes at 350. And I forgot to mention my secret ingredient, red wine vinegar. I keep them in little spray bottles because when we squirt it, it's evenly distributed. I already put a bunch on, so I don't want to put too much. But that sort of punch, that like back of the throat, like, oh, that's good. That comes from the acid. And red wine vinegar goes really well with red meat. citrus. I got a lot of citrus in the other two meats, so this one is going to be more of a sort of dark, punchy flavor. All right, so I'm out at the park here. First of all, Kellyanne, my brother's fiance, thank you for hiring me to do the tacos. I'm putting all of this on YouTube, but my beautiful wife, hi. Anyways, so let me show you the setup that I've got here. Okay, so this is my griddle. It's got 3 burners. I got a 2 burner griddle on it, and I'm currently reheating the carnitas. So you see all this nice brown stuff that is coming up. That's where all the good flavors are. Over here, I've got chicken and ASADA ready to go. Onions, cabbage, cilantro, guacamole, limes. I'm going to be heating up tortillas, and then I've got cotija cheese and the regular cheese ready to go. Squeeze bottles with red salsa, green salsa, and Mexican cream. So we're going to be getting going in just a minute. All right, so this is a birthday party from my mom. It was a surprise party. Were you surprised?
I was very surprised. Just
awesome.
Didn't deserve this at all.
Of course. So you're going to taste the ASADA right off the griddle. Let me know how it is. Here. Go ahead. Get some.
It looks delicious.
What do you think?
Oh, perfect.
All right, awesome. All right, let's see what you got here.
Okay, I've got ASADA
Uh-huh.
and onions, cheese, cabbage, guacamole, cilantro.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Sour cream and salsa.
You don't mind me filming you eat?
I don't.
This is why this marriage is amazing. What are you feeling right now?
It's so good.
You know what? You're a unreliable narrator. You're biased.
I've got a bias.
I know, but I love you. Thank you so much. The taco table is in full effect. Jay, pastry princess. You don't go by that anymore, do you? Executive chef to the stars. How does everything look?
Amazing.
Really? Are you sure? Okay.
It looks
Thank you.
vibrant and delicious.
Vibrant and delicious. You're taking your own pictures? What do you got here? ASADA?
Yes. I have one that's pork and one that's beef.
Uh-huh.
And I actually guacamole in the middle, but everything else is separate.
You gotta separate that out.
Yeah. But besides that, and like the lime is like perfectly cut, because what annoys me is when lime, when
Yeah.
you can't squeeze it.
I can't
Because
take
it's like
credit
a
for that because
liver.
your sister cut them.
She's all right.
We get everybody's like Instagram Mexican standoff here.
What else is there? Like, can you be flipping one of those as my, like, up in the air? Pick like. the
Flip
fast
one?
up. Yeah, up. Oh, there you go. Oh,
Did you get it?
one more. Hi.
This
Do
is
it
dope.
high. Got it.
But what? It's a tortilla.
This is delicious.
All right, Mom, birthday girl, what you got?
I got ASADA with cabbage, onions, cilantro, guacamole,
Right.
and
How many times is this for you through the taco line?
this is only my second taco. The first one was carnitas.
Uh-huh.
I figured I would do one at a time. So this is my second, and I think I'll have a little bit of crema to
Oh.
top it off.
got a newcomer here. All right.
Hi,
Thanks.
Eric.
All right. Happy birthday, Bob.
Thank you, Brian.